Hello, 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 hello. This is Hauser. This episode of Hauser is going to be a little different. I'm going to share a piece that I wrote with you, and it should take up the entirety of the broadcast. It's called Extending from in a Sample. Was written between, I'd say, April of 2010 and June of 2010. We need the love simplified and recovering us. We need to match up the short attempts with our feet, advancing step to step, up the whole world or word, or hoping on a daily basis for no gas leak and no climate catastrophe. Hey, we should move fabulous earrings through a portal and spend time in the mismatched sun again, coming together alone, and then rolling remolecular on stance of winged vibrations. Let those who palpitate murder their captors. Let all of our captors, which we can always only see, be murdered, brought back and forth. Let their husks fall into a desert, and then we go forth insanely. Let rage become love. Let love become pylons. And we're making the future, an unbrosive, unknown span. And then the pylons fall down, and then we're falling down. Don't have to clip or post the sounds we make, or put makeup to our tiredness, but feel it being a tongue of muscles, and delay a distinguishing of muscles. Use the technology for this, which is really a muscle. So be a muscle against our stagnating captors. I'm writing about captors here to formulate, no, imagine our captors. Here it tricks you into writing of a utopian captor. A lot packed into the measurement of grief. Be articulate and a little dumb, and find a little penchant in those muscles that singles out the view of the stars through the tweeny buds. Try to keep shoes in this zone out toward bliss, then land on tarmacs shivering, or shiver an absence from a job. I should say this more clearly. How? Let's think on that. Find to push, not immaculate. This. Let's shelve those words. How are these nuts an ample entreaty? They're not making figurative shaving in the mirror language. Leaning against the J.P. Morgan building, the New York Stock Exchange is a robot, and this robot is on overload. Let's send Wayne some fucking brownies in prison. They won't reach him anyway. So I say, fucking, anyway, our muscles point is up. Up through dares of laced branches go our thoughts, solitary as installations. We need to be solitary, like the birds living in the fan in the kitsch coffee cup protruding from comet, with the stubbornness of a comet. I feel you, comet. I feel you, birds, in the strange contraption. I make plastic islands of discard, and make this disregard how we're finding ourselves. Make how we're finding this the rake, and the angle, and I'm the virgin, saying, let's all have this orgy now. So take some of it, maybe with a grain of Carl Saffron. Let's throw parties at people. Jim Burley is the fundamentalism we're waiting to see obversed. Zizek, a utopian porn collector. Let's lace up fantastic insults. Let's fashion doubt an act of love. In Spring and all, in the great American novel, there seems to be an enacting of a nervous breakdown, imagining even genocide, burning the listless ends of the Pop-Tarts of grief. There is a religiosity and a disavowal of ownership. There is an ownership tending to itself, tending to us even in our sleep. Kill all of it and its ownership, its crazy fucking tamped justice. I need to be thinking out loud during this part, or making culture in the foyer. The foyer gets hot and the culture burns dryly. Everything coming out of it is toxic, but we're breathing it. So we breathe. Poetry should be at least as exciting as getting your toenails clipped, which is a real treat. Pint of the pale. Here I am waving hi to some friends meeting me here. Robert sliding into the place like a possessed man. I keen him. Do I think I'm some Cheshire cat? Reflux of the next and next locale. So Cheshire to slide drinks like petals on a wet black bar. Just remember the personalized Miller Lite shamrocks are not the faces of patrons. Patron or patient, I saw a Marianne Vitale video. I think I can't help but be distracted. WCW's effort is so thoroughly brutalizing. Read through it again and slam shut the window. I'm still waiting for IKEA to apologize. Marisa touching my arm, and I'm thinking, wow, not so depersonalized, pal. Not so much a branch into the warmer air. I need realization. I say that, seeming to be a very hot tangerine ginger of knowledge. Pick up germs from the Whitney's rocket-powered toilet flush. Followed the right-angled parquet into a particular donut hole, where they won't cover my pills. I took out the pad, and there was a really big blood clot. Can you get me Midol? Unquote. Steve Zoltansky's penis can't lift the stanchions of his pad. It's a big notepad. I don't know. Is that lazy? Is that some insane image of a branch I keep fixating on? The Miller Lite disappears, of course, but the Miller Lite will not break. Get up every morning to write how the Miller Lite, a branch of its own propriety, will not break. The material is worth a lot, though, and yes, I take my thought and some other faculties and have to farm them out to a squirrel. Or I prefer to pretend it's a squirrel. This rearranging and pivoting, cagey and sexual in its imaging of the continent, I mean content. Everything connects to how, in the opening, some Puritans gathered to place an oatmeal Bible in Roger Ailes' tent. Timmy, let's say, went on a cruise with Roger, let's say, and got a reassuring big backslap from Rupert, let's say. Let the fucking feral rodents into that sentence. Ask Brett about that rodent they find in New Orleans. There are a lot of people to write to. There is an immediate thought of all friends. Its petals moving forward, attached at the motion. There is a perk up in the New York Germs, and in the oatmeal Bible, that is fucking dripping on the floor. True, in a Manhattan McDonald's where several are waiting for the toilet. Total eclipse of the heart on low volume, playing for Elaine's birds. These things. The sun is playing pet sounds for my bones. Dana's acknowledgement of all the world in its every small stutter. The cat batting ball is political, because we live in a world. And this world is a lot of things and is incumbent upon us. Because the cat is batting the cat's toys. But that sounds like some self-styling frequency. I have a weakness for quips, but okay, you write and have an image of things. Have an image of people, but maybe that's faulty logos, like you want them to visit so bad, and you want to make them tea so bad. A lot of people in the Midwest have this habit of rehearsing what they'll say in some presumed future circumstance, even rehearsing for you what you will say. This is the function parents take up. We'll have to form a new philosophy to not lose our boom, where we will all most likely be looking for each other over every reactive shoulder, rehearsing what to say when we get there. What did you download? All of it. That is not sufficient. Download an image of a branch that will not break into the squirrel's brain. See what it does to him. A gap in the microscopic dust where a customer chains herself to the last buddy squirrel. She will say, it seemed like a good candy store chain to fight for. There will be no such thing as back surgery. This is our ridiculous image of the future. Marianne Maritime Vitale. Finding a new spelling and new iteration for that spelling. Find a new kind of rehearsal. Very busy and waiting to eat. to not disappear Miller Lights in the bar. Several fixations linger and are like music, remarking on the confluence of good old American consumption. You'll discover a new joke form while fixing a sump pump, and an even newer iteration. Beautiful days and love in the struggle. To see it as segmented is to become a centipede, essentially vague, like an articulation from a debt consolidation firm's turkey stuffing breath. A branch from that breath that will break. Check inside machine for children, pets, and foreign objects before loading and starting. Is laundry documentary? Like essentially skinning your knee against the corner of one creditor's offices, kitty corner from another creditor's offices. Right to live among offices. Right to rehearse what you'll say. Right to knock down because you'll be embarrassed in front of all those offices. Right to hide our bare ass from the rain, though that seems to not always work. But what a ridiculous and beautiful laundry we make, and eat and breathe in, breathe inside of and reconstitute. Rehearse nothing more beautifully than that day of fucking realization. Make these paragraphs out of real fluids that we do exchange with, and exchange and reconstitute. I don't have an answer. If there's a problem, it's dripping down from us. Dripping down to us from the table where that oatmeal Bible's at. If there's a problem, we're getting it from that, auto-tuned and thrushed as a newly coiffed squirrel that rode here on a stubborn asteroid. If the branch is extending from space where the squirrel came, the problem is the solution, and the solution is the problem. Begin a branch or concomitant rock that won't stop. We're the ones we're waiting for. I'm the one I want. How am I doing on time? This early in, that's actually crib notes from Kevin Nealon. And the poet is so paranoid about platitudes, cliches. Well, I say they can be beautiful, moving, titillating, even and especially the ugly ones. Poetry is a foam, at times formulating its own demise. Geez, that talk again. Is that a cliche just then? Is this a measurement? We are the people who live in the rain-domed city and wonder where the fucking birds go. Still, when it's like this, the car sounds are like how certain investors analyze the, how do I finish this sentence, violent grouping of our peers far away from us. I meant to say hedging phantasmic will there. I meant to say budgie it for later. And puts a gumwad that'll grapple between the toes. The world's brightest pink gumwad coated in the world's most expensive and outspoken olive oil. I imagine all the steep steps covered in olive oil. One's agency is an auto scrubber on satellite television. Have you ever tried to control one of those things? One's agency is an auto scrubber on satellite television. Have you ever tried to control one of those things? Throwing its weight at the wall, and the lull, and we boogie down, holding the electric knives in high consumerist fashion, in high node, in blank spot ruffling, pleasure as abode of wholeness, in high modernist fashion, I'm constantly devising my pajamas. One doesn't need a death ship, one needs a pajama ship. They can be totally makeshift. No, I could still be talking about pajamas here, and a scuttlebutt of agency. How I find love so often now involves a kind of smuggling, and nothing ever disappears off the internet, as any squirrel what lives in the internet'll tell you. If someone would send me not a virus but a squirrel through the internet, that would make me happy. Anybody know of a damn fine accent to say this in? Go back and examine it. I always think sleep should be a little hard. Go back and examine it now. As an embrace, I embrace the hug. Clichés aren't too bad. They don't have to enter into it. Is the poem I meant to say dome expanding yet? Is every piece of data on the web a special foraging agency? My hair is gnarly cakes of battered cod. One's agency is a bad fish fry, filling the stomach with existential tar and brethren syrup. Read the pajamas against the dying of the light. The pajamas. Ew. Am I formulating a new obsessive-compulsive solidarity now? Some concepts like transference, I'm still getting a grip on. I say substitute words. Am I inviting interference? In an effort or a motion or a gesture, or an inscribed postcard sent from the birds who are hiding from the rain, melting in the rain, the postcard, that is. This kind of telegraphing that's aware of its own birds hiding is kind of an evolutionary fact. Or Rotifer said, you find whatever oils the works, I think. Anselm's ratio of appropriated to that other conscriptionary function is about 30-70. Poverty kind of makes its own gravy. They're showing the plain and they're showing the woman. An abridged being there, a resentment towards surplused water. Coming this way from South Milwaukee, an army of club kid squirrels, making the most of your surprised expression. Being informed, all the metaphoric unity sans the pickled doubt. Put your finger in the cavity, detonate the mirrored slob. What is at the heart of much indie rock, despite various guises of irony, detachedness, of a kind of straining back all the way through teen years and adolescent, until it gets to a kind of sanguine infantilist remix of the public space there, is a kind of knowing exemption, of not having to be there in being there, what's been called sincerity. In aerial pink forms of emoting, of the safely concealed agency and obverse posture of indie rock, are constantly refracted, are a self-diagnosing neurosis. It is the singer seeing his own reflection in pop music and shrieking. In Oceans of Weep, the voice is a ghost icon, an accumulation of the collective memory, now so baroquely formed, of what a pop singer sounds like. Most of our technology is paid to worry about someone's view being obstructed. You gave me a lot of permutations there. I'll see when I get started on them. Semi-permanent and plumb deep as the tobacco odor invading bar flowers. The dictionary, incomplete bling. Get paid in pounds at Robert Hack Diamonds. My filmic high tops trouble the blacktop. The film's film within the film. Look for the agency. It's muscular now. Athletic now. It exists and pees freely out of bounds. I never did post that poem, Ted Neely Gives Dimension to My Formal Nightmare. Existential bling of the day is Society Gives Dementia to the Spirit. The Invisible Committee advocates for a well-placed absentia. Blind Lemon, Bin Laden, and the 9/11 Band. Tony Stark to Senator Gary Shandling. I have successfully privatized world peace. I just want a kiss on the cheek when the precipitation is foraging my grouts, and my high tops are fading out of blue there. Thinking with Dick in Dick Mind Meld, there are a lot of things that don't quite make it into my stand-up set, like the part where infant Buddha's belly button falls off. Carl says the Miramar is not on anyone's radar. Holding to the rooftop at such a steep angle builds muscle strength for the squirrel. Brock says, put it in the barn. And Ross says, put it in the barn, in similar voice intonation. And it's like something somebody said 10 years ago, and it was really funny. How's fatherhood treating you? I had to supplicate, no, irresponsibly make use of, no, throw my underwear away in the portolet. Mike, people do look at their reflections in their monitors. Some monolithic representation this poem turned out to be. Some hyperbolic chamber it turned out to be. I was conceived at the Milwaukee Hyatt Regency during a three-way with Dr. J. That water dispenser is really humming a Bernadette Mayer's amazing cavity poems like Duration, falling off the edge of the recycling bin. I just want to meet the hottest DIY manicurist. Epicurean as a well-calculated tip of lard, the chief barter here. There are still administrative pleasures to be had. We are aware of this issue, and there is no need to hold the line, as our engineers are always already working to fix the problem. Recloak the coinage in latex to make it seem smuttier. There's always a little garbage can you can drag over to wipe it out, giggled the subway operator self-effacedly, leaning into this too much of an angel-headed hamster on overload. leaning into a gumption. Emerge from thy sump, a man who has lived kind of with, but really within, if you know what I mean, his mother. And his lonely endeavor and everything about this that we learn cows us in retrospect. Often undesirable fluid liquids such as the break it takes to find filmic crumbs. I've got bad slippers, just keep writing. My therapist, not as hot as I feared. Sump regional inconsistencies. And the bottle to a cowboy's grief shard. I almost wrote Grieg shard. Maybe this is becoming sort of the formal compulsory distension of the samples, with all of their grief, their noise. I get on my bike on Wells Street, and it's a relieved sound I make. Once again ventilated and out of the sump. When the Wolfman's analysis seemed to be bogged down, he finally set a fixed determination date. Freud felt that this forced the Wolfman to bring up the relevant and necessary associations that, in turn, exposed the conflicted, unconscious material and made it possible to resolve the neurogenic intraphysic conflicts. Look up werewolf in psychoanalysis book. Stephen Hawking says humans better avoid aliens. Is it the new hunker down? Stars like annoying dewdrops over our hobo fedoras? Might require misplacing reference. People text raw material through a spirit funnel. Interface with their purring screens, deflecting. A nice little burlap fantasia. Transcribe it later. Dopey spinster junction. First to constantly assault corn-pone cooks get home early, all amateur. How do we describe the toe-tapping, throat-grabbing garbled virescence in the mirror explaining repackaged loans to a llama? At management of eco-puberty in blasted volcanic Louis Vuitton blocked sachets. I think there's a riot and all the soapy leather is functional. Sorry this structure is appearing reminiscent of Stephen Rotifer's 4 lectures. An arbitrary stofers to let love in, into the stuffing breath of memory. The brief, sly thrills, standing on the illuminated patch of country grass in my bare feet. Nature cheats films out of what they know. Speaking of no, since I'm not being less nice than before, that's me in the country for a while. Dorky as a snifter of high C. Put the Capri Sun away there, John Hodgson. That's my back porch homologue. Where the fuck you think I get all this crazy-ass fine droopery? Things that become mythical scan reading you back. An empty, disposable junior spinodal spy gang. Don't force it into therapy. Its legacy is expressive. Freud felt obligated to finish a Capri Sun in front of the Wolfman. Vague fruit flavor, and it actually tastes like money. These parameters must never transgress her horny little roofs. Sycophantic as a dandy's pleat, and with as much courage, too. The very rigorous material, a.k.a. a depressive's bug pal who solves crimes. Taste it. The Wolfman's interesting neurotogenic intraphysic conflicts. A less than casual odor from the domicile. Write more than once a week if you dare. I believe we sneeze to hover there, in basted conflict glasses, always peeking out from behind, ultimate authorial purchases, the giraffes nodding approvingly, the sirens bulking up at sundown, perky, hapless, and fine, to stick to a deadline for sleep loss, at dreads, bewildering plant life that makes your plant life a good one, at trains making the space of its myth, we follow breath to a parking lot, in spindly light, shaping sights before the twister, sticking to the what in the pudding, in the military pudding shock, writing closest to ending what's an image, a step-to-step close reading of the arboreal habitu. Video of several chimpanzees petting one dying chimpanzee. We claim, strangely, this hasn't been documented. Claim, strangely, a petting motion, documenting likewise the beatboxing bacterium, can't be destroyed by any gamma radiation, drowsy emaciation. Hey, we're writing poems, earning this kind of already second nature filtration. Sweating from the chilly air in the warm space, giving off that rank reaction like recessed bubbles, holding forth the top-down, jettisoned bestiary. I have Elaine's blankets. I have Elaine's cots. I have Elaine's heat pad. I have Elaine's Joanna Newsom CD. I have Paul's Rancière. I have Paul's Tony Lopez, though he told me to keep that. I have Paul's Rotifer's The Bell Clerk's Tears Keep Flowing, which he actually got from Golda Meir Library. I have Paul's Call It Thought, which he actually got from Golda Meir Library. Do I have Paul's Olsen biography? I have some of Amanda's art, a ham and cheese loaf costume, but I don't have the heart to try to give those things back to her. And besides, that would be extremely rude. But let's be kitty corner from rude, where we can see rude, orchestrating its societal phantasma, like when you are picking up a lot of things around your house because you're getting ready to move and the dust kicks up, makes you sneeze. I'm so damn horny. Let's be diagonal from that and thrill to the electro march of this cursor getting snagged on the MS Word program. Clean oven, dust shelves, call Brock and or Dan, clean fridge, sweep, mop, scrub, hope rain doesn't make my mattress all wet as it's sticking out the back of Kate's SUV. I call Carl's a hatchback. Carl will correct me when I do this. Sleep on a couch that a Welsh corgi used to piss on. Then, I don't know, Natalie's hopefully empty room. Go east over the railroad tracks, then get to the office and talk to Sean. Looking for boxes and boxes and boxes. Looking for boxes and boxes and boxes. In Arizona, illegal will now mean brown even more so. Immigrant Satyr radio wave. The gamma rays bleed into their urban centers, diversifying like inconsistent lined breaks, like enjammed custody, werewolf and Salman Rushdie sightings. Looking for boxes and boxes and boxes. Remarkable waves of dragons sire deplorable spam custody, eventually siring Greta Skaki, static of Steve Earle's beard. We are utilizing the tricks we picked up from some language writers, not to mention some skanky radio waves I jack up with the unauthorized suicide sample. Makes you want to hug redheads, but still MIA seems a little dour now. Immigration radio wave, this aggregate of personal experience. This crisis will mean more letters from Larry, considerate gamma burglaries for the mafia. No one is saying Bruce Andrews? Do you want more cheese in your bucket? Read your pasteurizing telekinesis, God damn you. Read your pasteurizing telekinesis. Engineering what's called sauce from the poem's diagonal admission of the mutual semiotic shift to quotidian in the elevator once everyone's leaving work. They're fondling their hair. That might mean something. Read your pasteurizing telekinesis. Looking for boxes and boxes and boxes. Lou Dobbs recedes. Born of the tangential oxygen supply. Boxes crushed immediately. How immediate is immediate? Stretching out this prose, as we say on the radar of Young America's genes. Young America, I say, you are sexually overworked. Immigration, sweet marzipan dick, my phony husband. The imitation Purim cream seems not spicy enough. I traveled and sold out, like the little indulgence of my blood. Language is always in its obscene bridge I would like to sell you. When I was a child, I touched other children. It was when children were touching other children. Looking for boxes and boxes and boxes. Now we've grown up. We have gout of the imagination. With the brittle consistency of astronaut ice cream. Slash, dash, dash, so-called chockle gals. Bumping and slumping through the torturous, porous network. These Milwaukee Bucks will just keep on riding that hi-hat in twist and shout. Blustery, positive eons of the showroom, so fresh and so clean. though it will wiggle and drip syrup. Just a little bit longer then. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Do, 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 do. Who needs goodwill when we can just hang crap from a tree? Catherine Meng. I can just hang my supernal crap laughably from the Facebook backslap. Pizza supreme of a mingle chirp. That was one wispy pant-leg encounter. The hater implies agony, comptroller of their own hydration, antipathy. Pathetic posturing is the wrestled away league. Making corn from that plastic-itis mania. We're watching the antagonistic laser diddle itself in the doghouse. A special perfunctory signal leaves my olfactory in the lurch. This writing is a possible hating that leaves its site in the obscure sensual world. How we wend, chiming the hate to glimpse a cobbler's secret shin. Secret dim sum of lyric palettes. There's one free toward the perverse navel of the warehouse's sigh, filmic picnic. One free toward the back we could make love on. I'm still uptight, shining my urges in a pent-up Polony, down brush upwind, from other lazy cocks in the cocked light. It is pastiche since thinking started becoming an anti-hate, the basketball proxy replaced by a basic puberty, acclimating sensualized zones into the mind's zoning laws. People keep cheering on the Bucks. We hear them through the acoustic traffic on the street. A smile plays about the controversy of reversed dunks. Sweating in light of ontology attempting itself between the sheet, past scene of petting. Elaborating the latent arboreal fandom. Pledges placed around lovers' bodies by other lovers. Some mother lovers who get off on crazy criticism of it. These actuarial croakers seem vital to our land and peaceable exchange. Most cold opens play about the difficulty of leaving ties untied. Most mammals own a wallet of some sort. Most mammals have accounts of some sort to offer, walking upright into the palace. I'm made to wear harem pants, Allie Warren. The Cincinnati chili defies good taste. Actually is a dare to the reader, with its disjunctive, artery-clogging, take-no-prisoners consistency. With my fork twirling, I would unknowingly whip the cinnamony stuff at my shirt. I don't know if it's cloudy or bright. When to quote the entreaty of your hexagonal, for I am a big vampire wolf actuary, extending off the wet branch. The symbolic padlock breaks like your pores open. Somebody get this kid a frickin' washcloth, or a nap before his shift. Like your eyes shift gaggles of disarmed gesture. I'm a honey dripper on overload. Why, you little shy, against the hater's sore neck and the castigation that springs forth. Had some bad days in the narrative. Making an account of the glebes and glissandos from anti-manual masturbation. Twitter-pating thus. Hotshot fenestration. I must learn to menstruate. I end up with a headache and a lot of money, making believe I have a person with whom to make love. We are just frothing, giving up the scene, making the boatload of haterade appropriate through the brutal force of our utterances. Let's fight for love and glory. The fundamental things apply. The filaments abide. Let's strike. Let's learn these production tricks, stage the werewolf arias, far out on the abyss of the unstopping stuff. It seems we've stood and bulked at our image. Does web surfing execute this de-engraving? Swish around the antimatter. It ain't gonna be your honey, just like you will not be my baby. Elwood would critique my every moving move. Critique the suspended movie. Go for a steam to feel better about the languid meadow. I'm fucking tripping Formica head wounds. The stars are a blast here in heaven. The stars are blast in the return. Write this self-destruct mechanism along with the fruit. Pour suspension and the silky juice. Not an escape, just a way. onward, fierce in the underpinning, like jaws putting forth libido. Heaven or the diagonal crouch, the sight which it is, through the park being heaven, just gone here there toward back again. Turds in the park make us flinch. Make us pretend they aren't there as we dine on our cheese. I saw a cheese dispenser that said, "Cheesy does it." Is that enough extra linguistic aid? Stop building that malleable fortress of wonder. I feel like my life is at stake, and I feel like everyone should feel this way. The blockbuster is the predominant cultural fact of our time. Most multiplexes have parking lots the size of unincorporated townships. A mark on paper is an event. In the very first suckling returns. Write while doing everything else like you are a cockroach. Do the cockroach barter, cockroach get laid plans, cockroach apocalypse rumination. Some charismatic TV hosts use the flashcards of federal accumulation. Diversify y'all portfolios. Issue forth from the port of call. Insouciant, treating yourself to some web-surfing mulligans here and there. Never rust a cop. Environ yourself in rustic artifactual kinship, responding in kind to the no-wake. Bid an intrusion of ball-washing, abrupt as a host. Never obstruct the finality, as the boy divines it all for you. Plead the patient amendment. Give these stanzas a general sexually frustrated shape. Why would you ever think you need a jacket in a cemetery? Jot out the coordinates of the singularity. Write the yummiest suffrage. The mind operates like a washer motor on a tightrope. Marks cooperate the senses. Hearing as a default generative vortex through which the nomads comparison shop. Do not cooperate with the halcyon binary. Let Rutger Hauer speak sing you to sleep. The DVD menu is a biological fact. Juliana Sparr's use of the plural and nuance building from a scratch on paper, seeing in formation the wildness of which. Nest in the evening, form as container, the brewers as ambiance, directionless tailgaters. Unequivocal barks in the night that matter. Recording has been paused. The normal hours of operation for a squirrel are 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Do I root for squirrels? Stop in the middle of what is an actuality. An analysis of squirrel power? The plurality of squirrels breaking nuts in the human heart. Shh. Squirrels are napping before a service call. They are to install pollen. They are to pick up oxygen. Would you like a release of squirrels to culminate your wedding ceremony? A way squirrels are interiority that seems ever present, foraging in the diminishing returns. A squirrel stock exchange that was just shut down on order of the squirrel president after a drop of 1,000 points. The aimless, easy availability of these squirrel tropes. Some squirrels give head. Some squirrels give cunnilingus. Some squirrels give provider name and ID over the phone. Some squirrels wash other squirrels' feet. Some squirrels advise patience with the claim. Some squirrels audition for game shows. Some squirrels size overlapping one another. A squirrel will recycle lines like, "You know, that squirrel lives really far away." A squirrel will feel an acute proximity, ready to caption. A squirrel will devise the approximate number of strategic intrusions. A squirrel will even joke about the apocalypse. A squirrel will kiss another squirrel square on the lips. A squirrel will continue to refrain. Hey, integral kill crap of America, the future is now opened. Wash your feet in the toxic water and daydream a little. Daydream of a little kettle. But to work toward a vocality that is not capital. Still mashing the corn product, present in the ongoing apocalypse. Return of seasonal blockbuster horror. and patronage of thereupon. This is Korak ready to make you smile. All cultural transmission is now, in a way, caption. Every interruption in the latter is a bridge. Every cleavage is a radical turnstile, phrasing concurrent pluck and magical ability. Every flash of leaking out the parameters of the blockbuster. Jot out the coordinates of collapse. You sometimes bump into walls and feel dubitably proud of your kids, who are in heaven now. Tear the turnbuckle with the intoxicating substance inside with your mouth. Internal star-shaped endocrine keynote of the flabby contender. Coo your cyber hymns to me in the night, lit by feeds of witty script, stopping in the middle of downtown, either laughing or getting thrown off the stage. Someone somewhere is trying on sunglasses. Read your molecular fundamentalism to me in the night. Speak it into my illuminated foot powder. This suspicious metonymy. Mexicans in front of you at the grocery store, unquote. Gaze toward whatever other will do. But we make it spectral and porous. But the means aren't there to directly defeat this logic. Only to directly exempt ourselves with the right amount of money. And they are hard to get. The things in a text anticipate. This isn't really appropriate. Learn to anticipate the phrase should be, lost in the complexities of our own value meals. Zizek says, stop and think about your choice of deodorant. We are asked to value our time. What is allotted spectral circumstance? Spectral plot point, burgeoning headache, unlimited local availability of cheap sex. Gentle on-hold music equals a choice of 888 speeds. Bundles helping you connect. Now let your bundle help treat you to something special. Lowest available bundled options. 689,000 miles of fiber optic in your bundle. It's all bundled. Let your bundle treat you to more bundles. Pine out of your own spectrality. If it has to be done, it has to be done. It's important that it gets done. A gas gauge expresses condensation. TV ameliorates the need for eye movement. Do we have more reasons to believe our world of commodities will continue to exist, or that it will falter, so that disaster is assigned into a handheld location to stay there, always already appearing here, then there again, giving the dressing room at Target a new bedside manner? Are these almost routine falterings assigned a regularity? As punctuations that hide an already ongoing catastrophe? I'm ready for my lunch. Is the imagination becoming a domain? Is a unified short-term memory holding us back? I'm reading Introduction to the Apocalypse today, always already with my own body fulminating. Jot the explosive diffused downtime. A worker must always support their argument on their smoke break. I do possibly resist the idea of things being purely anti each other. Ain't I got a right to? Short of help from the state, you have to accrue a while. Visiting capitalism on its deathbed at the mall that used to be the mall that white people don't go to anymore. Places in the heart. Roll that Coke commercial. I do possibly resist the idea of things being readily apparent. Beam in that old Triassic rock and roll. Just take those old fossil records off the shelf. Something that doesn't love an underground fence. Anyone that doesn't like you will pull out and shoot you with an underground gun. Walking halfway to work, slowly, integrating. Worker acclimates self to elevator machinations that sound off. I hate the banana flavor in candy. You can stick the banana flavor in candy up your ass at a moment's notice. A third of the world's honeybee population disappears behind a curtain. To feel at home in one's skin, not a home and comfort trinket the busy population of last things amongst the way our hearts work. But good news, as our hearts work and are pounding unusual materials, but are nevertheless standing on their very loud hind legs. Apocalyptic bloggers flash facial expressions on the soft morning, cut-up mornings of the most harmed furry things. I just wanted to have dinner with some very handsome men. Are you sick again, Margaret? One is dancing here, with a peculiar mouth shape in the morning. What do they do about a third of the U.S. honeybee population disappearing? You don't need to go back to the 1940s, just the 1970s to go dancing. But the problem is, you can't wait to get me out of your bed. Maybe I want you to want me, Craig, Diana, the honeybee population. Desire in indeterminate times equal mass instances of orgy daydreaming. The organic produce as rhythm transmitter. No one's talking about any of it in a way that equals zoning out to the arranged artifacts in our dreams. So watch what you write in the night of the dude with the messed up, slowed down voice. Voices dream of themselves in cooler locales, at last invited to join the sequence of collectible entropy. Doubt makes a lousy bike helmet. To want desperately to know what it is that one wants desperately. The supermarket circular is operatic, stealing language from everywhere. You have to be careful these days who you don't know, all your property covered in the yellow stuff in April. After a while, Facebook gets sinewy. I wanted to be a knight-errant sexual adventurer on the reg in an essay in high school. How may a life become profoundly political, regain its political efficacy in the underwear drawer next to the gun? I thought about killing myself with that gun. How may continuing be political? Why does it have to be made political? Already, like Creeley says, we make a measure. Everyone is trying too hard. They know where their insurance policies are. They know where the knobs are. How may a person become not in, but a new reality? Political and sexual frustration both accrue straight-up usury. Just thought tonight I'd let you know the diff betwixt seasoning and mold. No commercials, just more cows getting shot. Oh, where does this tenderness live in us? We are already it, along with other functions. Sense depression, the cat spoke slowly. I wanted this to be almost a field, not a container. Almost an organism, not an organizing principle. And write things into it like the pea soap cooks. Let those shenanigans take their course. Among shenaniganizing organizational licks. Is tenderness injured or from the body? Its proximity a marker, recycled like breath. Take home this analog, a gorge willing. The force of spoken goods embraces our efforts. In their containers, times the circumstance of our measure. Allow me to now skip over a bit. I skip over the alphanumeric or wherever, to where I think there will be water for a swim. I am a virgin, continuing the long tradition. Images of couples in star-wiped fantasias. The quandary of limb placement. Mouth shapes suspended, soft breathing, damaged love. But we will have to bring love into the air in a periodic rustle of newspapers. Philip Whalen did request to have his body lain out on frozen strawberries. Let us scatter the ashes of cremated capital. In Mike Hauser's poetry, the only firm ground is a knockoff. But knockoffs are also tightly guarded, and knockoffs are the place where we start to discuss this. It's not reasonable to expect me to close this every time the bell dings. Debt collection. Who doesn't like to be in a aware hodgepodge? Can we go ahead and take care of that? Can we go ahead and take care of that? We cannot go ahead and take care of that. Who doesn't like to sit there in the mall, lured by ruins? Who doesn't like to be a member of a stulted majority? We would like to find ourselves there, located by the dislocation of events. This will take the appearance of having been inserted. All who invested in the burnt materials that are filling up the space will cheer, and so will those who invested in burning of said materials. Cheering, woo-wooing on a hot, despicable day, in a hot, despicable climate. We wish for our surfaces to be open, to ride past the Euro place and the yacht impound lot. Bodily fluids while the Euro is crashing. You can present the same expressions to your friends and coworkers, even while having a stroke, even while news of the crash tickles your funny bone. We wish to be alerted throughout this process of every recent development. And the mouth-closed news theme goes, hmm. Quick staccato breaths gain their context fast, when needs present us with themselves. Present themselves to ourselves. Humans with vulnerable parts. It's the aerial or the dangly parts. It's the interrupted transmission folding itself in a case, in a purple tube. The winding market crashes and almost seems to sigh, and we lose our breath, and the breath comes back, and we almost can't see where that space was between those moments. We can only remember as one moment, car alarm. The aerial must be malfunctioning and losing its function to a sudden gust. All parts of all proximity become new parts out of need. Car alarm. They fill the stadium, first sitting for a ceremony, then leaving the stadium and navigating the sensuous curves along the promenade that opens onto a plaza, a space through which everyone will pass, so to disperse and continue looking for restaurants and places of business and their cars. Car alarm. The crowd cheers wildly and displays goat horns to the goat herder. We need the love simplified and recovering us. The crowd recovers and disperses to reassemble. Car alarm.